It's just wrong. Dr. McFarland, a good friend of the family for all my life, had almost $900,000 worth of insurance. They offered him $13,000. It goes on and on. The Shapatons, the house towards the highway from Jody and Betty, several $100,000 worth of insurance. They offered them nothing. Corky and Molly Haddon had built what they thought was a hurricane-proof house up on pylons. Everything you're supposed to do. The shutters, low-profile roof. They had about $600,000 worth of insurance. The insurance company offered them nothing. They only got paid last week after suing. And so, I could go on for hours with these stories. It's not the aberration. It was the norm that people didn't get paid. The insurance companies had buried in their policies something they called concurrent causation, which said, in effect, that after the 4 hours of hurricane force winds that hit Bay St. Louis, before the water ever got here, if there was one 2x4 left standing, that they would call that a concurrent causation, and they weren't going to pay anything on that homeowner's policy. So if after 4 hours, Jody and Betty on that house that was almost 200 years old had a 2x4 left standing, and then the waves came and knocked that last 2x4 down, they weren't going to get any homeowners. And it's wrong in so many ways. It's wrong for the individual who thought they would get their homeowner's policy, multi-$100,000 policy. Second thing is the homeowner's policy, almost every one of them had cost of living expenses built in. So if something like that happened to Dr. McFarland or the Haddons or Jody and Betty, normally the insurance company would pay to put you up for a while. They'd rent you a place until your house got fixed. But if they deny you, then you don't get the rental assistance either. So these 42,000 FEMA trailers that looked a lot like this that families have been living in, the nation paid $16,000 apiece to buy them. They paid another $16,000 just to haul them from Purvis, Mississippi, about 70 miles from here down to the coast, hook them up to a garden hose, hook them up to a sewer tap, and plug them in. So that's $32,000 right off the bat that the taxpayers paid. The insurance company should have paid. And I'm convinced that they shifted all of the costs that should have been paid for the actual replacement of the home. Since homeowners didn't pay, that meant that the flood policy paid all of those bills. And when people say, well, gee, how is it that flood insurance loses $19 billion the same year that the insurance industry collectively cleared about $60 billion? Well, it's no coincidence. The taxpayers paid bills that the insurance company should have paid. Even with Katrina, State Farm had about $5 or $6 billion in profits that year. And just last year, the same company that told all of these people no, their board of directors doubled their year-end bonuses. The head of State Farm got a $9 million bonus last year. Everyone on his board got double the bonus of the year before. Yes, just incomprehensible. Remember, they're the only companies in America exempt from the antitrust laws. If your station called up the station across town and called up a third station and saying, let's charge the car dealers this much for ads, or let's charge the politicians this much, if they had done that, they could go to jail because that's a violation of the antitrust laws. Competitors can't talk to each other. They can't rig prices. In the case of the insurance industry, they're exempt from it. It's perfectly legal for State Farm to call Allstate, to call Nationwide, hey, let's quadruple everybody's rates. And while we're at it, let's don't pay those poor guys down in Mississippi. They're Mississippians. Let's don't pay them. And I'm convinced that really did happen. And unfortunately, it's perfectly legal. And it shouldn't be. It should not be legal for anyone to get away with that type of behavior, but for them it is legal.